The other thing we've done and left behind is we had two timelines that we were playing with and kind of jumping back and forth, and that's something that is an intriguing way to tell a story, and at least in this demo we are seeing two times and where the story takes place, and maybe that expands further.
So, a couple of days ago, some of the developers at Naughty Dog and some of the cast held an official panel for The Last of Us Part 2. If you haven't watched it yet, I recommend that you either watch my breakdown and discussion video on it, or the panel itself. It was actually quite good. Anyways, as you could see right at the beginning of this video, The Last of Us Part 2 is actually going to follow two different timelines. Hey everyone, my name is TheiPadCat, and in today's video we're going to go over what these two timelines could be. And as always, this is speculation. Nothing other than that The Last of Us Part 2 has two timelines has been confirmed. First, there is the question as to whether or not these timelines ever meet, or if they are separate the whole time. It could definitely be both. Uncharted 4 gives us an example of how Naughty Dog has done two timelines before. The main game is of course Nate and Sam, plus other accomplices, searching for Henry Avery's treasure, but then there's this other timeline going way back to when the Drake brothers were little. We follow them on a journey taking place over a couple of hours in their hunt for their mom's old stuff, but we never play up to the point when the main game takes place, and these two timelines never really directly interact with each other. Instead, the other timeline is used as a way to give the player a background and a better understanding of the relationship between Nate and Sam. During the panel, Druckmann says that the party takes place 4 years, not 5, after the first game.
But we're in Jackson, so this is the same place Joel and Ellie have, spoiler alert, where Joel and Ellie have ended at the end of the first game. That's where we are now 4 years later, if my math is right.
This could indicate that the two timelines act like in Uncharted 4. First we have a backstory timeline in which Ellie lives in Jackson and forges her relationship with Dina in, which could act as a way for us to understand Ellie's motivations in the other timeline, in which she hunts down the Seraphites, which is the name of the cult, if you didn't know that. This theory works both if Dina dies and if she doesn't, because either way, we know that.
And then bad shit goes down.
It also works with both variants I brought up earlier. The end of the Jackson timeline could be the start of the hunting down timeline, or they could be completely separate. It works both ways. On the other hand, the Jackson timeline doesn't have to be separate from the hunting down timeline at all. They could still be one and the same, only that the Jackson part acts as a prologue/opening for the game like the prison in Uncharted 4, and the other timeline can be something entirely different. Speaking of that entirely different timeline, in the 3 trailers we have 2 camps, or whatever you'd call them, with different characters in them. First, there is the 2016 reveal trailer and the E3 gameplay reveal. And then there is the PGW trailer. Did you know that there is not one single moment in the entire The Last of Us Part 1 without Joel or Ellie? I mean, at all. Really? Not one single gameplay sequence or cutscene. Then the PGW trailer was several minutes without either of them. Could this mean that we get to follow Lev, Yara and the Mystery Woman in one timeline? Hold on a minute, why would we do that? Well, during the panel when Neil was talking about the cult, or the Seraphites, he said that they'll be more humanized and that their motivations would be made more clear instead of them just being the brutal executioners we now know them as.
Well, bad guys, good guys, it's all relative in the world of The Last of Us. We really try to humanize everybody, to say everybody has a real objective, they're trying to keep themselves safe. How do we humanize them? Right now you're seeing one aspect of them, so they might come off as, okay, these are the bad, cultish people, but there's a lot more dimension and complexity to them that you'll explore when you play the final game.
But what does that have to do with the PGW trailer, Lev, Yara and the Mystery Woman? Well, Lev and Yara are, or at least were, part of the Seraphites. This is indicated by 2 things. One, being that Lev wears the same standard outfit every other cultist seems to wear, the large brown coat. And 2, Lev says she's one of them, to Yara, referring to the Mystery Woman, who's clearly not a member of the Seraphites.
Cut her down. she's one of them.
Lev,
Why does this matter? Well, if they are going to humanize this cult and their motivations, what's better to do it than the characters who've been on the inside being there to explain it to us? Maybe the second timeline could be the trio we see in the PGW trailer deserting from the cult and then trying to escape from them until they eventually cross paths with Ellie and make the two timelines meet. Or maybe the timelines never meet and we just get a perspective from both sides of the cult. However, that doesn't seem very likely, as when the PGW trailer was released, Neil Druckmann wrote a blog post that stated that Ellie will encounter these new characters in her travels. But this is getting quite confusing now, so I'm gonna stop. Anyways, that's just what I think. What do you think these timelines could be? Tell me in the comments down below and let's discuss it. And until next time, have a great day.